they moved to the overall, the red oval, and so everything, even umbrellas. You remember when they have carried out raids at our party headquarters, among the items they have recovered as prohibited are umbrellas. So it is not surprising, but it's unfortunate, and I think it would be simplistic for anybody to restrict that conversation to what the law says or does not say about the flags. It is just some actors within the state infrastructure who, on account of partisanship, which is unconstitutional, must find any excuse to disadvantage the NUP and the opposition generally.
So you feel you're being targeted in this latest
I think any man or woman on the street would know that.
Okay. General Witch, let's look at this latest conversation. For many, it's something that has been used severally across different platforms. The flag is pallid. Yeah, some people have these flags in their cars, you know, just as a sign of patriotism. But it comes out now to be tagged to the law on seeking prior permission before getting to use the flag. How are you getting into this conversation lately?
Well, that conversation has not featured in NRM. As we all know, it's the duty of Attorney General to give a legal opinion on government matters that affect government. But my understanding as a lawyer is that all legislations can be interpreted, and there are several principles for interpreting. For example, you can use the literal. If you read the sentence literally, what does the grammar mean? As is. As it is. But also you can use the mischief. Mischief means what was this provision meant to cure? What
At
was
the
it
time.
meant? And I think the provision meant here to cure is to cure abuse. And therefore somebody would say, if I'm not abusing it, if I'm using it for honor, then the mischief application would not be on me. I also know for a fact, like in some countries like Germany, everybody almost has a flag on top of his house. And of course, in that case, it is as abuse. Like my colleague says, business, but of course business can be interpreted. For example, if you said a political activity can be termed as the business of that, the business of political activity. But as I said, a provision of this in the National Flag Act, which is an act of parliament, can only be interpreted from the mischief point of view, that the law intended to protect abuse.
And but do you see any mischievousness in its use in the political setting that we're talking about?
That is upon the complainant. And that's why I said for us as a party, we have not indulged into that debate. We leave it to Attorney General and the government, but we have not. And we have not indulged ourselves into that debate. But I'm just giving you my position. The legal position is that I would urge those who are against it to look at it from the mischief point of interpretation of that provision. Okay. That was this intended to cure a mischief, and is anybody performing that mischief? I don't know, but I think, as I said earlier, the law would not catch you if you are not explicitly abusing. In other words, if you were using it for promotion of the state interest or the country interest, I don't think the mischief rule would catch you. But I must repeat, as a party, we have not indulged ourselves into debates of for and against the flag. For us, we are continuing to advocate for manifesto that we have. And we are also law-abiding. We keep to the law. Therefore, let the Attorney General interpret. But remember, even if Attorney General interprets, that is his opinion. Eventually, if
but he interprets for and on behalf of government.
But in other words, I'm saying that would not be final. In other words, I'm saying his interpretation would also not be final. Okay. The final position of a law is in a courts of law.
Yeah, sure.
It's in a courts of law. So we really have not indulged ourselves into debates of flags, and we leave it to the complainant, and the complaint has not come from NRA.
I hear you, and Councillor Benjamin, the reason why this is coming up, because the flag had almost literally become synonymous with the National Unity Platform in these elections, just like we've seen, the NRM choosing to use a lot of their colors and the chitenji, which has come through, for lack of a better word. How do you intend to carry on with this, especially now that we're bringing in the law in this context, which could get a number of you and your supporters into trouble?
No,
Are you seeking court redress?
There's no, first of all, we are waiting. Let them write to us. But there's no law being offended. But number two, for us, we are promoting patriotism. We are promoting love for the country. And the flag symbolizes the country. And even throughout our campaign, we have been explaining that part of what we want to achieve when we take power is to make sure that this country belongs to the people of Uganda, not just in name, but in deeds. That they are stakeholders in the affairs of the country. And that involves their voice being heard, it involves leaders being accountable to them, and it involves promoting the name and image of Uganda through actions, not just words. Now, we are not so much worried about that wheelbarrow, because we know that, first of all, those people, some of them are just busybodies. But also, as has become the tradition, many times when the government of Museveni wants to introduce something that is ridiculous, they go through some unserious people. They introduce the topic, then it is picked up by the media like we are discussing, which I think it is also unfortunate. And once it is discussed, then eventually
there's ground for it to be.
Yeah, so that's why I said that for me, in my view, I think it is even unfortunate.
It's a non-starter for you.
Engaging in that debate. But we believe and are convinced that the people of Uganda also understand the urgency to bring to an end that kind of state of affairs, where, for example, Uganda Police Force is now acting on the whims of some ordinarily inconsequential individuals in the political structure of NRM, like the woman who started that conversation, and they vote NRM out of power, so that we are able to run a country on the basis of laws, not on the basis of whims of some individuals who, when something becomes political and palatable, they think it should become law.
Okay. Well, we will leave the law to be able to deal with that.
Is it good that we read the provision in contention?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
The provision in contention it is an act of parliament.
Yes.
Maybe the concerned provision, section 3(1). Any person who does any act or utters any words or publishes any writing with intent to bring into contempt or ridicule the national flag or armorial ensigns or any representation thereof commits an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment of a period not exceeding 2 years. And you can see, I talked of the mischief. But there's also this provision, unauthorized use of the national flag. The unauthorized use of the national flag here says, no person shall, without the authority of the minister, use or permit to be used in connection with any business, trade, calling, or profession, the national flag or the armorial ensigns or flag or a flag or a device so nearly resembling them as to be calculated to deceive in a manner calculated to lead to the belief that he or she is duly authorized to use the national flag, as the case may be in that connection. So I think these are the provisions in issue.
And it's very instructive. It talks about
businesses,
trade,
yes,
calling, or profession. If, for example, you have your law firm or your hospital and you are using the national flag as the trading, as a tool to present it as maybe a national facility, that's where the problem comes in. But here we are asking the people of Uganda to proudly move with the flag of Uganda
As a sign of patriotism.
To pronounce their citizenship, that we are Ugandans, we are stakeholders in the affairs of this country. And this is not new.
Council, suppose someone says
it is not restricted to Uganda.
Campaign is a business.
How can a campaign? A campaign
That's an interpretation.
A campaign is a public interest matter. Just like a political party. Just like a political party. It can't be business because it's not for an individual.
In that provision, the commercial business is differentiated from trade. A trade is put separately. Business is actually interpreted
as a campaign is still a national. But it is a national process. It's a national process. After all, but like we said, maybe this is subject to interpretation by the courts of law. If there is any follow-up that is required now, especially that it has been able to come to the fore. But we'll be able to get back to the details of what 2025 looks like in the lens of the various political parties. Councillor Benjamin, I would like to start with you. Why? Because this span of 5 years is your first span as a national party in leadership. First of all, not just taking over the leadership of parliament and as leaders of opposition, but also this is your first stretch of the 5 years after election, given that you went into an election barely a year old as a political party. What did 2025 particularly look like? Because it's also been a preparation for yet another phase of elections.
No, I think the context is that Uganda is largely under an authoritarian regime with the mentality of a single-party state. But on account of many factors, one of them being that its leadership needs money to run government, there's a semblance of multi-party politics. Also for purposes of not being isolated internationally, and the pressure from many actors, there's a semblance of multi-party politics.
So it's a facade of multi-party politics.
Yes. So